I'd like to call this Ways and Means Committee meeting of Tuesday, November 2nd to order. Roll call, please.
Box.
I'm here.
Here. Dick.
Here.
Coonan.
Here.
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 Johnson.
Here.
Sorry. Krieger.
Yes,
Warren Crusher.
Okay. Are there any changes to the agenda? I do have one on page 11. The resolution should be submitted by me, not the name listed. Anything else? Okay, great. Is there a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, is there a motion for approval of the minutes of October 5th?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Item 6, public input. For anyone wishing to speak to the commission, if you would like to, please sign in on the yellow pad with your name and your address, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Moten. I am a parent of children who attend Bay City Public Schools. Right now, our children are being denied their constitutional right to free education. Our children are being given quarantine orders from Joel through the health department if they are a close contact to anyone who tests positive for COVID-19. Our city, Bay City Public Schools, does not have any other education plans, so you're lucky if you get a packet when you are off of school for your 10 days. Some of these quarantines last up to 21 days. There is discrimination in our schools between the vaxxed and the unvaxxed. Joel's quarantine orders state that the vaxxed must be tested on day 5 and wear masks days 1 through 5. That is not being done in our schools. I brought this to the attention of the board along with Joel, along with a couple other important people in our city that have yet to take any actions upon it. COVID-19 has obviously affected all of us. I keep being told once there's a vaccine out for 5 to 12-year-olds, it's all going to be washed away and it's going to be fine. Clearly not everybody is going to take the vaccine. We have more work to do in our schools. We have asked the school to have a roundtable talk with us, including some of the executive commissioners, to come to an agreement. It states that schools have to be willing to work with the parents to say what's best for their children. It cannot solely be dependent on just the health department, although we need to work together on something that chooses the right thing. Right now for Bangor County, because Bay City Public Schools is denying me the data that they are getting, and Joel is also denying me the data, Bangor is at less than 4% when they test their close contacts. In that 4% includes 80 students out of 1,817 that have been tested since the 2nd week of September. If you guys do the math, that 80 also includes children that are not being tested at school, but are a close contact due to a different reason. If we do the math, that it really doesn't make sense why we're testing asymptomatic kids. The discrimination, I would like to see the data provided, which again, we have not been able to get yet. I would ask that the schools provide an opt-out mask option. Joel is putting in his mandates of quarantines that students must wear masks for the days of their quarantines. Governor Whitmer signed a law on October 1st, page 181, section 250. This prohibits any health director from telling a child under 18 that they must wear a mask in school. Michigan Revised School Code Act 451 of 1976 gives quite a bit more information in detail, I guess so to say, on how they have handled previous pandemics. And then I think that's about it. The bill is 600 through 603. It's currently also being looked at. It's basically saying that children have access to a constitutionally free mandated education and that it be available to them. I believe that it is being denied in our schools here in Bay County and that it needs to be looked at a higher level than just our school board right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to petitions and communications. Is there a motion for approval for the contract with the Catholic Family Services?
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any additional discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item B, the grant, seeking acceptance of the grant awards for the court administrator.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bay County Sheriff Department is seeking approval of the road contract. Item 1 with the City of Auburn, Bangor Charter Township, Frankenlust, Kawkawlin, Monitor, Pinconning, including the K-9 unit at Portsmouth and Williams Townships.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? Vaughn?
I think I read it, the same contract that's been in place, no increase in the fees. I said that's for sure. Back to busy.
It's a true cost reimbursement, so whatever it costs for the deputy, we true up at the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C2, the road patrol contract, including Kawkawlin Township, Fraser Township, and Fraser Township.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This one. And C3, is this the one we're at? Yep, okay, C3, Bangor Township, seeking approval of their school resource officer contract.
So support.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Bay City Public School, seeking approval of their resource officer contract for next year.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And Pinconning Township School, seeking approval of their school resource officer.
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, item D1, seeking approval for the purchase of an animal service vehicle.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. See, I said it differently. Is there any discussion? Kim, did I see you? Yep.
Yeah, I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's seeking an additional $4,000 because of the cost of the vehicle
Correct.
over time. I mean, the vehicle was already approved and budgeted, but this additional cost is due to...
That's correct, Commissioner Coonan. So we went through the budget process, had an allotment of money for a vehicle. Due to chip shortages, the particular vehicle we were looking at, they're not even making those in production right now. They came back with a couple different options. Of course, we had to pick an option that was able to fit the cab that would go on the back to transport dogs and those types of things. So this additional funding would go into that, make up that difference.
And maybe while we're on this, we could just get some additional information when we would use some of the stimulus dollars for lost revenue. Is that going to be, is that something that could be used now, or is that something that we would plan for 2022, or do we even know how many dollars that we are going to seek in lost revenue during the pandemic?
Yeah, we've submitted that in through the original or first grant request. We just put an estimate in there because they were still working on the revenue calculator. Ours came in roughly at a loss of $5.2 million. So we are asking for that, or will be when the next grant report for ARPA dollars is in January of 2022. The funding for this additional cost, the grants that we had last year, the COVID grants, we had $2.1 million fall to the general fund or savings at the end of the year due to the COVID grants that we received for our first responders reimbursement. So some of the money that you'd be, or if you're approved these additional costs, in a sense, we are using the COVID dollars, not necessarily the ARPA dollars. The ARPA dollars have a different billing aspect as to how you bill for each item.
And so the ARPA would not be available to 2022 anyway?
Correct.
Mr. Barsha?
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson had raised an issue similar to this in his email. And I think Commissioner Coonan, the CARES funding, the $4 trillion bill passed under President Trump in the prior administration would be eligible for this reimbursement. So,
okay, thank you.
So to, again, basically I know that you had answered my question as well, which was similar.
Right.
Is that in some way justifying the purchase through the ARP funds might be more difficult for you to be able to document in the process that they'll be asking for.
Correct, because
than it would be in this situation where now those funds have already dropped into the general fund that could be accessed readily.
correct. Yep. It's immediate, and the direct billing through the ARPA is going to be a little more difficult because it has to follow the categories that we had, and vehicles aren't one of those categories, or even one of the problems we would have is this is a portion of a vehicle, not even a whole item. So I think it's just easier to use the CARES dollars that we were awarded last year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Item D2, requesting, is there a motion to approve the request for an additional $6,500 to cover wages and fringes for the remaining of 2021?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item E, is there a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding with
So
the issue media group?
Support.
Yes.
And I see Laura's here. Maybe you can give us a little background, Laura.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. Yes, the Route Bay City is an online media presentation that we've joined with most of the community leaders about 3 years ago to start to tell the good news stories about Bay County. There is no cost to view this, to sign on and get it directed right into your email, but it does talk about the good news, like stories that wouldn't otherwise be covered by the media, by the M Live. We worked for years putting out press releases and they just were not covered. And so there is a lot of good stories, good work going on. The food bank, the land bank, we've got kayaking and paddle operations that have started up in Bay City. Those are the stories. We've got the Word Garden at Sage Library. That was a great story, and yet those aren't typically what are covered. People from all over, not just Bay City, Bay County area, but out of state as well, or downstate, are hearing about the good things happening in Bay County. It's a 3-year MOU, and quite honestly, we did it for 3 years, this past 3 years. Things may change during the course of this next 3 years. We may find at the end of this isn't necessarily going to go on in perpetuity, but I do think this next 3 years are going to be critical. We've got a lot of COVID projects coming out, and I think it's a good time to tell our story.
Great job.
And I just point out, it's not just Bay County, it's Bay Future, Chamber of Commerce, Bay City, how many
Community
collaborators?
Foundation as well, McLaren Health Systems. We were all finding, we would prepare the press release with quotes and photographs, and MLive just wouldn't cover it. And all they were covering, if you remember, was the criminal pages from the courts. What people were thinking about, hearing about Bay County, we were all criminals. And so this really started as a result of that. And I will tell you, MLive has come around, but you know what? People need to hear these stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree.
Laura, this is a portion or a link in the chain that Bay Futures is hoping to be able to do in regard to doing something similar to a little West Michigan, but they want to do something similar, but this was supposed to be the media portion of where they wanted to.
This was the prelude that kind of launched that whole concept, and that's why, yes, thank you, Commissioner. We, in 3 years, our media outlet and our ways of conveying our good news stories may completely have changed. But that's why I'm saying, yeah, we may have a website or a different media vehicle that will kind of take care of this, but right now, for $5,000 for our contribution with the other partners, it's a story worth telling for sure.
Any other questions, comments, Kim?
Laura, do they track how many people?
Yes, they do. They do track, and they track, and there's a lot of people in the downstate, Ann Arbor, Lansing area who follow this. Detroit will track, show some hits, as well as out-of-state folks like Florida, Arizona, Nevada area. Whether those are folks who had been here and moved away or just want to keep in contact. In fact, I will start, thank you for asking, I will start, if this thing does pass, they do have quarterly meetings and updates, and I will get that information to us.
Now, do they track local folks that are, because there's not a lot of newspaper, unfortunately.
Right.
You can't get a lot of good information out of the local paper. So this is a great substitute for that, but the local people, are they using this as a means of getting good stories out there?
Absolutely. And I will just point out, they do track hits and locations. They don't track like people or that type of numbers or viewers. But they can tell where people are located. And I will say, part of it is just outreach. We had, it's free, it's an email of good news in your mailbox. And so I would like to start doing a better job, quite honestly, myself, of promoting this, encouraging people. A lot of the younger people are looking at it, people who are more inclined towards online news coverage than maybe some of the older folks, but I think it's just a matter of getting the word out that it's available.
Easy to share on social media.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I urge everybody, if you've got it, share it.
Anything else? Roll call, please. Oh, we're not roll call. Oh, my gosh. All those in favor? Old habits die hard. Sorry. Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Moving on to item F, the Emergency Management Coordinator seeking approval of the grant.
So moved.
Support. Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item G, seeking approval, an additional appropriation to purchase a replacement Jeep for buildings and grounds.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and discussion, or moved and supported. Any discussion? Boy, I'm struggling today. Nothing? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the carpet replacement at the courthouse.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Mr. Coonan?
Yeah, that's a lot of money to appropriate, and we've got some dollars, or some plans, actually, people have plans on renovating that whole complex over there with some ARP dollars. Now, I don't know if anybody's, I haven't had an opportunity to go over there and look at it. Bob, did you get a chance? Did you get a chance to go over there and look at those dollars? Or those,
I'm very familiar with the carpet over there. I was involved when it was first put in, and then a replacement. So.
yeah, what I'm saying is, it's a lot of money, whereas if in a year or two, we're going to go out and renovate the whole complex. Now you got $48,000 in carpets that you might be pulling up. So is it wise to just hold off and to see where we're going with these ARP dollars?
I believe they have some problems with tripping and things like that.
Kristen?
If I could, thank you. The carpet in the court facility grows and with humidity, and John and his crew have dealt with it for the best they can since 1997, and we have replaced probably about 80% of the carpet in the court facility. $48,000 in carpet actually does not go that far. So this is really important for safety, and we used to get carpet dollars within the budget. We no longer get that, so that's why we came to you with this ask. But ultimately, when you mentioned the ARPA dollars, these would be for the courtrooms and for the judges' chambers that are corresponding, and there would be no changes in the courtrooms or the judges' chambers that have been discussed. So.
Fun.
I had a question. How old is the carpeting?
It's original from 1996.
Wow. Okay.
And it has a characteristics, like Kristen mentioned, that with the high humidity in the wintertime, it's not such a problem because of our humidity level, but in the summertime, we don't have the boilers running and the AC. The boilers act as a dehumidification, and that's how the building was designed, not particularly for this carpeting in mind, but that was just an item that we come across after, and we've been replacing it. We started replacing it probably 10, 12 years ago with the main lobby, the back corridor. Most recently, I've replaced everything in the prosecutor's office, the front of the court, district court, probate court, all the way up until the courtrooms.
Kim?
Well, this will be in November. Was it budgeted last year?
No.
It was requested, but it did not make it in the final budget.
Why would we not budget it in 2022, which is just 2 months away? Chances are you're not going to be able to go out and buy carpet between now and then.
We also have to finish out the remaining courtrooms, because there's 7, right? So we actually have carpet in the 2022 budget to finish out the end of the project.
So this isn't the entire investment in carpet over there?
This will take care of 3 of the courtrooms and 3 chambers. Then we'd have 4 more to address. We did courtroom 8 and courtroom 9, which are connected to probate and district court.
So even if it's got to be paid, it's got to be paid. I still like it going through the budget process. If we need it, and then we adopt it, and you get it, budget adjustments of $48,000 in November for something that is going to be in the budget or requested in the budget. I don't just soon see it go through the budget myself.
We did put it in the 2022 budget.
Yeah.
That would cover the rest of it. We just had an issue in one of the courtrooms recently, and I brought it up. And we've been addressing the carpet. We cut it, we stretch it, It's down with Velcro, Part A, Part B. It's not glued down. But it does, when the humidity's up, and the guys would wash the carpeting at night, and I would instruct them not to do it until Friday, because then we've got carpet bumps all the way up and down the hallway for 2-3 days until we get rid of the humidity.
Okay, just one last question. Is the traffic back to normal in the courts?
Not quite yet, no.
They have started jury trials, is my understanding, though.
And I thought we'd start with courtroom 1, 6, and 7. Those are trial courts. Those have more traffic in them. They've got jurors that are in those jury boxes. Some of the other courtrooms are smaller.
Those will be the ones that are in the VEBA?
Yes, yes.
And all the courts are back to trials now, right?
We have one going on right now.
But you know, I'm sporting my Harry Potter mask, so thank you. Yes, just to answer your question, the building is open to the public. Everyone is asked, to wear masks coming in. I'd like to say we're in the middle of a pandemic, but I have no idea where we're at, right, like everybody else. We try to keep it as less people as possible that we come in to the building, so many of us are still conducting hearings by Zoom. So, for example, for myself on Tuesday, it's my probate court motion day. I have many people just appear by Zoom. We keep it very limited, but if I have to have people come into the building, we do. Yep, we are currently in, Judge Gill is doing his second very large trial right now, and we are utilizing multiple courtrooms to keep people safe, masking, hand sanitizing, spacing as much as possible so that we can keep the process moving that has been delayed for so long and get our trials. We're staggering trials so we don't have multiple trials going on the same day, so that we don't have large groups of people in the building. We're bringing in 80 to 100 people for jury trials, the larger ones, and that can be, as you know, complicated. And so far, knock on wood, it seems to be working. The smaller jury trials, the district court jury trials are going, it seems to be going smoothly. They seem to be running and trying to work through the backlog of everything that got delayed because of COVID. So yes, the building is up, the building is running, people are coming to the counter, we're accessing, being able to access. We're still sort of doing a hybrid, if you will. So still doing a lot of things by, electronic signature, Zoom, trying to make it work as best as possible. Zoom is, as you know, both a blessing and sometimes a curse. And so sometimes people have a lot of electronic confidence, is what we call it. And for those people, we invite them to come in. And so then they can come into the court. But the judges really have some ultimate discretion as to, bringing people in if it's best for them and or just continuing by Zoom at this point. So, yep, to answer some of those questions. And you're all welcome to come on over at any time. So,
thank you.
Please. All right, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Krieger?
Yep, so John?
Yes.
So I think the major issue with wanting to do this is more in line with safety, somebody tripping on that rug and falling.
Right. And we've had falls in the past. It's not the first one, it's just been, we haven't had anybody in the building really for a year and a half, so. And then the carpet that we're replacing is a tile. It's not
It's the
rolled
squares
product.
that we did
Yeah,
here.
so in the event that somebody spilled something, we could easily pull that tile up, either wash it or replace it. Makes it much easier to keep it clean and somewhat.
Thank you. So if I could just ask.
Yeah.
So there's 7 that have to be done.
Yes, and that would complete the court.
These 3 are the most immediate.
Yes.
The other 4 are going to be figured in 2022.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Vaughn?
John, supply chain, is the carpeting available? I know supply chain has been an issue.
I am told it is. We haven't placed an order, of course, so, but I have reached out to the vendor and they said there wouldn't be a problem with it.
Thank you.
Okay. You good? Okay. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carried. Item H, is there a motion for receipt of the VEBA trust process update?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in, go ahead.
If I could, Heather, if I could. So what we just received is information that's coming from the retirement board itself, letting us know that we're reaching out to a firm out of Grand Rapids, correct?
Yep, it's the VEBA board, and it's Miller Canfield. They have offices throughout the state. The one lady that we have retained is out of the Detroit area.
Oh, Detroit.
She's out of the Detroit area. But the whole process, the VEBA board voted to retain counsel to take a look at the VEBA trust in order to get it updated and current with respect to legislation that was passed in 2017. The VEBA trust was started over 20 years ago. So in order to get it to the place where hopefully we can start utilizing it, we need to get the trust document cleaned up, and that's why we've decided to retain outside counsel. The VEBA board decided to retain outside counsel to get it to that place. So we're in that process of having her take a look at it and giving us advice on amending the VEBA trust. The reason I wanted to bring it to the board is because the VEBA trust document, ultimately, it's this board that makes decisions with respect to any amendments that are, respect to any amendment. So the VEBA board voted to get this looked at, and we're going to get recommendations from the VEBA attorney, and then we'll bring it to this board ultimately to make the decision regarding amending the VEBA trust.
Do we have a timetable set?
You know, I haven't had a sit down with her yet. Initially, when we spoke, I was thinking it was going to be somewhere between 3 to 6 months to complete the whole process, to go over it with her, with the VEBA attorney, and then we have to go through the amendment process, which is a couple months in itself because it goes to the VEBA board and then to this board. So I'm thinking possibly as long as 6 months to have the complete process completed.
Okay.
Vaughn?
I think we probably got this before, but what is the unfunded liability of the retiree medical benefits right now?
Well, the VEBA trust is the unfunded liability.
Yeah, of the retiree medical benefits, probably was a question for.
We're currently 48, the whole plan itself with all the employers is currently 48% funded.
I think you gave us that before. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the agreement with Covenant, Occupational Health for random drug testing.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And the agreement with the Delta College Fitness and Recreation Center.
I'll move it. Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item J, is there a motion to approve the payables?
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Then item K, is there a motion to receive the general fund equity?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And is there a motion to receive the Executive Directive 2007-11?
There is.
Good. Is there support?
Support.
All right. Moved and supported. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Moving on to item 8, are there any referrals? Unfinished business? New business? Vaughn?
No, I'm waiting for announcements or
See,
miscellaneous.
there's usually something. I keep looking at
I have
you.
something else,
I
yes.
keep looking. A need to go into closed session?
There is not, Madam Chair.
There's not. Miscellaneous.
Madam
So-
Chair, if I could, I'd like to have you recognize Craig for a report on the joint venture with the Bay County, or Humane Society of Bay County and our animal shelter on distributing free pet food to a lot of residents in need. And Craig, would you want to take it from here?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Barsha and Madam Chair, for a
Absolutely.
moment. We partnered with the Humane Society of Bay County this last Thursday from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock and did a food pantry handout for domesticated animals, dogs, cats. The director over at Humane Society, Donna Billow, and I, this is something we talked about, and they brought over volunteers, and we had workers over there bagging up food ahead of time. The Friday before this event, the area community high school students broke down bags into separate bags, so it was easy to see. Sometimes we get broken bags of food in at the shelter and things. So this was literally a community effort, and it went very well. It was very well participated. Mr. Page was over there taking photos, and if you are on our Facebook page, you can see an aerial shot that he took, and that was pretty constant for about the first half hour. After that point, it was pretty steady, but all we brought back to our garage area was fit in one wheelbarrow. We went through a lot. We're in conversation for another one coming up, but we certainly would rather help the community keep their pets if, feeding them is an issue rather than them having to make the choice and bring them to us. So it's something that is mutually beneficial. So it went very well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Announcements. Mr. Bigot.
Yes, so this November 11th is Veterans Day. It's next Thursday, so I thought I'd announce it today because this won't be on TV till after November 11th. So next Thursday out front, 9 o'clock, will be a ceremony. And I believe the Edson, and I'm not sure about the time of the Edson's usually in the afternoon sometime. They usually have a ceremony also, but I know we'll have the one here at 9 o'clock. Short ceremony for Veterans Day. Remember the veterans. Thank you.
Very nice. Anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Krager.
I move to adjourn.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Our work is done.